All right, welcome back. This is Body Garage with I, Sheila Chelangat, and on this episode we are focusing on the mental wellness and stigma associated with cancer. With me is Dr. Maureen Wanjiku, as well as some of our cancer patients, warriors, champions, caregivers, and even nurses and counselors here on set. And Daktari, before the break, Samuel raised the issue of sometimes patients go to them and say, will I be okay? So for someone who's already in that state, as a psychologist, how do you come in then?
That's a very good question. So as a psychologist, I would try and restructure those negative thoughts that they're having. Because at times in life, there are things that we can control and there are things that are just beyond us. Especially in now cancer patients or cancer survivors, their journey through this illness is something that, apart from the medication they are given or the treatment they have, is beyond us. So now we need to help them see that there are things that they can control and there are things that are beyond their control. So now helping them focus on the thoughts that they can control, and now the questions that am I okay is something that is beyond them.
And it's truly a disheartening statement. Will I be okay? And I'm wondering, so then would you be with this patient throughout their journey, or is there a point where you'd be like, now here is where I stop?
I feel like it's very important for us as psychologists to be with these patients through their journey, because it doesn't get easier. At times it gets harder. And even through this journey, they are accustomed to getting PTSD. The journey itself is traumatic. So helping this patient or this person with cancer go through this journey and offering that support to them is a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's now, let's even leave now the personal. There's always now the stigma from the community. So how does that come in? What is stigma in the first place, and how does it affect someone who's diagnosed with cancer?
Stigma is just a misconception of something. For example, even when we are talking about mental wellness, it has its stigma just by the name mental wellness. And with cancer, trust you me, there are people who still think cancer is contagious. So there's still that lack of awareness with so many people out there. And for people living with cancer, they will feel stigmatized by people. If I disclose I have cancer, people will start looking at me funny. People will start being more careful with what they say around me or how they behave around me. That will make me feel some type of way. Even if I'm in the work environment and I disclose to my colleagues or even my boss that I have cancer, they might feel, they may not be productive anymore. So there's so much stigma from the outside
that comes with it. And I'd like to bring you in, Philip. Is there a point where you felt, now the society is judging me, I need not to speak? And how did you now get over it and get to the point where now you're speaking about your experience?
One of the major thing that rings in their mind is there a specific food that I ate, then it triggered this cancer. Now, if there's a specific food, is there a specific food that if I eat daily to able to suppress this cancer? And they tend to get advice from friends, from neighbors, which others is very good, others cannot treat them. So you'll find patients that they really want something that they can get that cure. They really want to eat something. You'll find them having issues after chemotherapy, having issues after radiotherapy. There's poor appetite. When we talk about mental illness, even when you don't have cancer, you have depression, you have anxiety, it affects your food intake. And majority of the cancer patients, they have got that fear. If I take, let's say if I take chapati, I read somewhere online, it will cause cancer. If I take sugar, I've heard from somebody that cancer cell spread very fast when you use sugar. So not only cancer affect them, but malnutrition comes in, and there's that food aversion because of the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy. Our biggest area of coming in is to reassure them that despite the diagnosis, there's a way they can eat healthy, balanced diet and be in a better position to fight off that specific condition that they have. Thank you.
Okay, let me bring in Derek. We are talking about stigma, and I'm wondering, the moment where you got perhaps your diagnosis, were you at a point where you're like, I don't want to share this with anybody because of how society then would view you?
Okay, thank you very much. So I was diagnosed with Kaposi sarcoma, and having received my diagnosis at a fairly young age, I found myself grappling with a lot of questions, especially about my future, how the treatment was gonna be, how we are going to raise funds, and at first I was not ready to talk about it. I think I started talking about it when now we had to ask people to. We started fundraising. So when you are asking for money, you have to explain your story. So that's when I started talking about it and sharing my story. But one thing about Cancerland is that when you get there, anxiety becomes your best friend. It stays with you during treatment, never leaves you after treatment. So a slight headache, you like, is it in the brain? A backache, is it coming back? So having gone through 2 recurrences, 18 chemotherapies, radiotherapy, 3 surgeries, and it kept on coming back. So anytime I felt like some slight change in my body, I would be like, is it now coming back in this way? How I'm going to manage, with the funds, and the side effects. One of the major side effects I went through was hair loss, and it's evident. Most people will ask you at a young age, how are you coping up with cancer? They say that cancer is for certain people with practicing, a particular lifestyle. So there is that anxiety that comes with that, and that stress and stigma. So I managed to come up with coping strategies to help me, come up with that, to manage the stigma. And one of the ways I was talking about it, I started writing my stories. I have a blog where I usually talk about my story, my experience in the chemo room during treatment. And I started sharing my story and owning it, and practicing mindfulness, which is basically focusing on the moment right now, and letting tomorrow take care of itself. So I think reading books, philosophy books, stoicism, they have really helped me to, focus on live today and let tomorrow take care of itself. So with that, I've really managed to not think about it. It's a non-issue. In fact, even right now, we have some complications, but I know we're still going through the same process. And I think I found a way of managing the stigma. Yeah, thank you.
All right. And, I would also want to bring in Praxidis to just tell us now, what was your, experience like? Because now we have a society and sometimes the side effects can be seen. Was there a point where you felt like, no, I do not want to even engage with society at this point?
Sometimes people tend to find out about this if you start approaching them to seek for support, especially because the resources that are needed for treatment sometimes can be overwhelming. And for me, lucky enough, through my work, I didn't have that issue a lot. And when it comes to society and just trying to explain to people what you're going through, for me, I think it was more so my close family. And I remember when I broke news to my brother-in-law, and he told me that you're dead.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I think for me at that point, I was trying to stay positive. I didn't want anything that is going to put me down. Because I had, of course, gone through 2 weeks of waiting for my results. When I cried, I broke down. I asked myself so many questions. I asked, who am I going to leave my children with? And I had reached a point where I was like, I think I've cried enough. I'm ready to face this. So when that negative energy came, I was ready, and I just wanted to put it off. So I just cut the phone, disconnected, and I was like, no, this is not the energy I want. Yeah. So when it comes to society, I think it's also, the way Doc said, it's about lack of understanding or awareness. Because you find like many people say, you know, when you get cancer, you're dead. But they don't know that there are people out there who have been treated and they are okay. They don't know that when you are diagnosed in good time, you can get better.
Yes.
So lack of knowledge or lack of understanding is one of the biggest things that is really causing stigma in our society, and that is what we need to break.
A very important point that she says, you know, sometimes it's lack of understanding. And when we're speaking to Derek and as well as Praxidis, you hear that, you know, you're dead, and then you Google something, and then there's the anxiety of, now I'm getting another headache, is it another type of cancer? So how then would you advise somebody who's undergoing such a journey to stay positive, even when things do not look positive?
I like what one of them said about being mindful. It's very powerful. You know, in life, there are things that happened to us in the past. We can't take back time. And again, we also don't know what will happen in the future. We don't know what will happen 2 hours from now. But we do have control over right now.
Yes.
So it's just being mindful and staying in the present. And let tomorrow come for itself.
And let tomorrow come for itself. I'd want to bring in Florence. You know, Daktari is saying tomorrow would come for itself, and sometimes it looks like that tomorrow is not, you know, coming in, is not really there. So perhaps, wewe tuambie, how did you cope with, you know, the stigma that comes with cancer?
I did not want to disclose it at first. Because even the doctors, when after they broke the news to me, there's some doctors who are telling me not to tell my kids.
Yes.
Some were telling me, just share with them. So I was in there between. Should I tell them? Should I not tell them? It reached a point I could just lock myself. I just took some days off. I could lock myself in my room. When they saw me, I was just in toilet, back to my room. I used to cry. I cried. My sister told me, some were discussing, oh, Flo is going to die. So with all that, my daughter could tell me, my aunt Sis was saying, hey, this cancer might kill you. And you know that time, I have cancer. My mom also has cancer, breast cancer. So I was worse off. My mom could ask, how is Flo? They could, Flo is, she's not doing so good. So my mom could want to know much how I'm doing.
Yes.
But day by day, I was not even getting much better. But at some point, I just woke up and said, let tomorrow take care of itself.
Let tomorrow take
I'm
care
going to fight this war. And it's that point, I just woke up and decided I'm going to work, because by then I just decided not even to go to work. I'm going to work, I'm going to do what the doctor told me, and I'm going to come a victor in this. That's when I took, because there before I could not even open my phone.
Yes.
I used to put my phone off. My bosses, my friends, because I did not know any other person I could share with, apart from my kids.
Yes.
So it was only me and my kids. I did not want even people at work to know what I was going through, but I came out and disclosed.
And I'm glad to see you, you know, bigger, better, stronger, and you know, you've gone past it, have you not?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So when we will, thank you very much for sharing your experience, Florence. When we will be back, we will now delve deeper into who can you tell, and then how can, you know, some of the caregivers help you who is undergoing a cancer diagnosis and a treatment as well. Do not go too far. Keep it TV 47. This is Body Garage.